Welcome to our panel. Today marks the 8th hearing on climate change. Today's hearing is in a much bigger room than the normal budget committee hearing room. We have a very large audience, which we don't always have in that room, and we have an impressive panel of government leaders to educate us. If only we were using this platform to shine light on the need for Congress to address an unsustainable debt. Just this week, the Accountability Office issued a report calling on us to do just that. Yet, the other side continues to ignore their core budget responsibilities of the committee and as the Congress of a whole. But I can't say I'm surprised anymore. Senator Marshall hit the nail on the head last week when he asked this, quote, "Why do we have this religious experience with climate rather than using common sense," end of quote. I've been asking myself similar questions since our first hearing. How do we get Democrats interested long enough to fulfill budget responsibilities for the American people? Now, only in D.C. could we have 8 climate change hearings while spending our country out of house and home. Only in D.C. could we show up to work on Tuesday afternoon and leave town on Thursday while we're approaching default in our national debt. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats haven't even attempted to write a budget resolution. But as we continue to focus on climate change for the 8th time, I'm glad to welcome my friend, longtime friend as well, Ambassador Branstad, but in Iowa we refer to him as Governor Branstad. As the longest serving governor in American history, Ambassador Branstad understands that we can reduce emissions and grow our economy at the same time. I might add that he broke Governor Clinton's record of New York early 1800s or late 1700s, early 1800s to hold the record that he now holds for 22 some years, I believe, being governor of Iowa. Now, alarm won't impede the impact of climate change. A combination of adaptation, mitigation, and sound fiscal policies will. Former Governor Branstad and I worked together during his time as Iowa governor to advocate renewable and alternative energy solutions. And now Iowa gets 60% of its energy from wind and leads the nation in ethanol production. We also opposed destructive federal policies, which would have driven up cost and meddled in the lives of hardworking farmers and businessmen. We don't need aggressive taxes to drive down emissions, and we certainly shouldn't cripple our economy with more federal regulations. Iowa has a $90 million deficit. When former Governor Branstad took office in 1983, when he left office in 1999, Iowa had a $900 million surplus, and he'll see his successor, Governor Reynolds, and the Republican legislature building up on that surplus. But we reduced emissions while erasing the deficit. But these impressive reductions only go so far. Even if the entire United States stopped emitting greenhouse gas tomorrow, projected temperatures would only be 0.3 degrees lower come 2100. Under this unrealistic scenario, the United States will still need major polluters like China and India to pull their weight. During his 3 years as U.S. Ambassador to China, Ambassador Branstad experienced the impact of China's pollution firsthand. He saw how China mistreats its own citizens, violating UN human rights standards, and American companies were mistreated as well. I look forward to hearing the ambassador's firsthand account of his leadership in China and whether he believes President Biden's policies are on the right track. I also welcome Prime Minister Turnbull and former friend and colleague, Major Leader Majority Leader Friss as well. Thank you all for coming.